Okay, I figured out how to zoom in again. All right. So today's lesson is the will to win. More battles. Really, this is the rest of the story, except for the end. We're going to save the end for tomorrow. But the will to win start picks up where we left off with Saratoga. Great victory. People are starting to, or countries are starting to recognize us and want to be our friend and help us out. And but the next winter was very, very difficult. Remember how I talked about the crossing Delaware, where it was very cold that the winter? This next winter was even worse. There was blizzard after blizzard, and so they had to, when they went to their winter quarters in Valley Forge, it was very, very difficult. Many troops uh, just froze, got diseases. It wasn't good. Um, but part of that help, Baron von Steuben was a Prussian, or Prussia's in Germany, but back then they called it Prussia, the northern part of Germany today. And the Prussians are very well known as great military warriors. And so this guy comes over and helps out to train the American soldiers. This is very important because they can do guerrilla warfare and ambush people, but standing up to the British and fighting the British on their own terms, Americans are not good at that yet. They don't have the discipline, they don't have the training, and so it is very important for Washington to bring over this guy, Baron von Steuben, to train the men into how to fight a more modern, well, at least back then, modern way of fighting. So he trains them how to use the bayonet, how to maneuver and so forth, and it is going to be very handy in the next couple months. So when the next year starts, and here's a quote from George Washington, definitely check that out. After that, in 1779, the French start arriving. Marquis de Lafayette is a huge supporter of the revolution. He loves George Washington. He's his biggest fanboy, and so he comes over and he urges the French to get involved more and more. And the French are sending over weapons. They're sending some troops, but they haven't gotten in the fight yet. And we'll get to that tomorrow. But by then, it's really the Americans just getting support from them, and not the French not totally getting involved. At least in the Americas, they get involved elsewhere and cause problems for the British. But here in America, uh, they're just supporting us. So the road heads south. This is where things get a little crazy nearing the end of the war. The British know that they tried to cut off the New England, didn't work. They tried going in the middle colonies, that didn't work. They found it too difficult. But they felt, remember we talked about the South, was very close to the British. They had the same religion. They didn't come over here to get religious freedom like the other colonies. They're here for economic value. So they are closer culturally and religiously to the British. So the British are thinking, hey, maybe we can go into the South and pacify the South, and they'll listen to us. So they go down there thinking that this is going to work, and they walk into an absolute hornet's nest. It is a nightmare for the British. They go in and start making deals with people, and all they do is unleash uh, tribal warfare, basically. People that have been around for a long time, they built up a lot of wealth, and they are, superior to everybody. And then the backwoods people that came in later that don't have a lot of wealth, and they resent it. It just everybody just starts fighting. The British don't even know what to do at this point. But their main goal is to attack and destroy the American Southern Army. And basically, what the General Greene, does is brilliant. He runs away. He runs all over the place, making the British chase him, chase him, and chase him. Finally, the British just get tired, and they don't have enough weapons, so they go to get resupplied and reinforced at a little place called Yorktown, which we'll get into tomorrow. Yorktown, Virginia, right over here is where we're going to be talking about tomorrow. But it wasn't. It was because the Southern Army had some good victories, definitely. But the main thing they did was try to get away from the British, just wear them down. This is an old term called rope-a-dope. They basically rope-a-doped them. They let them punch them and just kept away and never, just didn't. All they had to do was not lose, and that's exactly what the American Army did. One thing I wanted to point out here is loyalists. When the British go into the South, they are looking for loyalists. These are people that stay loyal to the British Crown, want to stay in the British Empire, and so they use these loyalists to try to stamp out any rebellion. And it just pits American against American, and it turns into a huge mess. It doesn't work. Um, so that's, then we go into Yorktown. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But that's why the British go to Yorktown in place. They are just worn out. They're running out of ammunition. They go here to get resupplied, reinforced, get some rest. And they feel very comfortable being by the coast because remember, the British Navy is very, very strong. So they feel protected. They can get reinforced by the sea. They can get protection from boats coming down there. So it looks like a really good place. Find out tomorrow that won't be true. Spoiler alert. Here's what I would like you to really remember. We got the 3 American advantages. Number 1, the Patriots were defending their own land, home, and families, fighting for their own principles and beliefs. The British soldiers were far from home. Number 2, the strong and steady leadership provided by George Washington and his officers inspired Americans. So leadership is what you want to remember. They had strong leadership. And then finally, support from France gave Americans much needed financial and military help on land and sea. So support from France is number 3. So let's see if we can break it down. Americans were defending their own land, homes, and families. They're fighting for their principles. That's not working. Principles and beliefs. Strong leadership is number 2. Support from France is number 3. All right, that's all I got for you today. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.